Let me just go ahead and kick this off and say this up front. You don't have a time problem. You don't have a time problem. You have a visibility problem. You have no idea right now where your time is actually going, and that's the problem. Because if you actually knew where your time was going, you wouldn't feel behind at the end of every day. You just wouldn't. Now, if you knew where your time was going, you wouldn't be left wondering where your time actually went. You wouldn't feel like you're starting over each and every morning. If you knew where your time went, then what you planned for the day would be actually what happened that day and would actually be what accomplished. But what about the times when what you plan for the day isn't what actually happens? Hey, JoJo, those gaps between what you plan or what you even think about, because sometimes that's the problem, you're not actually planning, you're just thinking about it. The gap between the reality of the situation and what actually occurs versus this plan or this thought about what's happening, that's where your time is disappearing. And understanding the visibility and where your time is actually going is what we're going to talk about today. Because I want you to stop saying that time is the problem. No, identifying and understanding where your time is actually going is actually the problem. And we're going to talk about that. Now here, I want you to ask yourself, it's Sunday, so the whole point of Success Started series is about understanding and starting to set yourself up for success when it comes to this week. Where did your time go this weekend? Did you have an actual plan for what you wanted to happen this weekend? And did that actually happen? Because we've got to stop saying that it's not enough hours in a day. I get it. I'm guilty of saying it as well. But the times when I'm really saying there's not enough time in a day is because I'm here, there, and everywhere, and I'm not really sitting down and focusing on where it is that I want it to go. Because the truth is, if I don't know where my time is going, that's why you get to the end of the day and you're like, what did I get accomplished today? And you're not really able to identify anything that's actually tangible and it's going to actually move the needle forward. Because we do have those days. And I'm not saying that understanding and identifying where your time is going is going to be the end all be all. This is a constant process. Honestly, it's a constant struggle. Because day in and day out, week in and week out, we're going to continue to have those people who are pulling us in different directions, who is pulling our time. And it's up to us to really be the leaders and the CEOs and to say that, no, I'm not letting my time go there. Or yes, I am letting my time go there. So really think about it. This weekend, Friday up until now, where did your time go? And the second question to that is, did your time go where you wanted your time to actually go? Because if we can sit with that over the weekend and just look at the weekend, we can start learning how to apply that as we go into this week. So, what's the answer? Do you know where your time went with this weekend? And are you happy about it? Once we really start identifying and looking at where your time is going, and we're going to use the LEAD method, we're going to walk through this. We're going to look at where your time is going, we're going to examine that, and then we're going to create that game plan to execute. Now, right now, your calendar is not really a reflection of your real day. Because how many things do we do that are not on our calendar? Exactly. We don't put every little thing that we do on our calendar. Number one, that's why we have alarms, because alarms are signaling things need to happen. And then the calendar is kind of hitting those big picture items that need to occur. What you plan versus what actually happens is different. Because most of what happens in our day doesn't really get on our calendar. And that's from the time that we wake up, if we're talking weekday, that's from the time that you wake up till you leave to go to work, till you actually work, till you come home. Yes, there are appointments that are on our calendars, but the day in and day out nitty gritty things, those typically end up on our to-do list. And then as a result, we're looking at the spaces on our calendar to say, when are we going to do the things that are on the to-do list? Even on the weekend, you probably have a lot less things scheduled in the terms of the calendar. Because you have, this time and this space, or because it's the weekend and time is more fluid in a sense. Now, this gap between what you plan and what actually happens is the thing that's killing your productivity. Now, the reactive way in which we're showing up for our days, that reactive work is what's actually running your life. Now, I'm not telling you to put every little thing on your calendar, but what I am telling you to do is identify the blocks of time on your calendar that you're going to work on specific things. So maybe you're blocking out this time and you just put, focus work 1, 2, 3. And you know, based off your to-do list, that focus work 1, 2, 3 is covered in this block. Like, I don't put, and again, I'm not telling you to do this, but if you think this will work for you, because I have some people who literally put every little thing on their calendar, to me, all those alerts would annoy me, and I would just ignore the whole phone. I would. Because I already know, like, certain sounds, by the sound that the notification is making, it lets me know if it's a text message, if it's a social media, which social media platform, is this the email, is this a work email versus the business email. Like, I already have different notification sounds, and if I just got more things going off, I'm probably going to ignore them. But maybe you might be the person that you're like, if it's not written down, i.e. if it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. And so you need to literally put every little thing. And so maybe for you, you are blocking out the times within your day that you're going to work on a specific project to make sure that you have that scheduled time to do it and that you put your butt in your chair and you actually do it. But either way, whether you're putting the big picture task on the calendar or you're putting every single little nitty gritty thing on the calendar, right now, the calendar system that you're operating in isn't a reflection of your day. Because again, how many things do we do day in and day out that aren't on the calendar? So take a look at your calendar. Look at your calendar, and when you look at it, really say like, is this really a reflection of what I want the priority to be? Because sometimes there are these things that are on the calendar that's not in any way, shape, or form a reflection of what you want the day to be. So once we can look at that and we can be honest with ourselves that, look, this calendar, this isn't a reflection of what I want it to be. Now it's time to really figure out why is that. And that's where the examination phase comes into play. Taking that deeper look to really say that, okay, my calendar says this is the priority, but where's my time to do this? For example, when I'm in trial it does take up the whole day, but I don't put trial. I do the pin where you do pin all day, so it's at the top of the calendar. But I don't put trial from 8 to 5 on the calendar. But I know that's when it's going to be. And that's in part because most often we're set for a trial date, but other cases might be set for trial on that same date. And so I don't want everything to be blocked off on my calendar for nothing to be scheduled because of the way the trial period works. Now, there are times when I have a trial date certain and I know my case is going to trial this day. And so therefore I might put like trial, do not schedule. And so anytime they schedule something, they know it's with the likelihood that this is going to get canceled. And so when you look at your calendar in that regard, like, are you putting the non-negotiables on there and making sure that they're blocked off? Or are you not? There's the ebb and flow of when you need to do it in some situation and other situations to where maybe you don't need to necessarily do that. But either way, it's fine. But checking emails, that's typically not something you're going to put on your calendar. Making your to-do list for the next day, that's likely not something you're going to put on your calendar. But each of those things takes time. And emails, depending on how many emails you get a day, can take a lot of time. Because sometimes it's just a matter of just deleting all the ones that don't even involve you. Like, why is this in my inbox? And then you have the ones that actually require your attention. And sometimes you read them and you're waiting for somebody else in the chain to get back to you, but yet and still you still have to read it. That takes time. And then just the whole aspect of planning out your day. That's going to take time because you need to both check your calendar to check what's on the physical calendar as well as that to-do list calendar to identify and kind of plan out what that is going to look like. And now, you might have those, like we got these emails, phone calls. You don't say when your phone is going to ring. Like, yes, you have scheduled phone call appointments that might be on the calendar, but that doesn't mean that your phone isn't just ringing whenever outside of that. Are you taking calls as the calls come in? Because depending on what's on the other end of that call, it might just be truly a quick call. It might even be a wrong number. Or it might be a call that completely derails, not necessarily in a negative way, your day. It involves you having to pivot and readjust to what it was you were focusing on and where it was that you were focusing your time or your attention. And so if that's the case, now you're having to switch context. You're having to switch between what it was that you were focusing on. Maybe you were in the middle of drafting an email and then the phone rang and now you answered it. And that email in no way, shape, or form relates. That phone call in no way, shape, or form relates to that email. So now you have to go into another section to look up the answer to the question. And even if you know the answer to the question off the top of your head, I don't know if you're like me, I need to document what just happened. Because if somebody comes back and says, I did or I did not do this thing, the computer system is going to indicate that that is the truth or that is a lie. And so this constant need to switch between tasks is in part what is killing your productivity. Because just because you're busy, we're all busy, I get it, does not mean you're actually being effective. Are you getting done the things that are both on your calendar as well as on your to-do list? How are you blocking off your calendar to indicate this is the time for me to do the things that are on my to-do list? I know some people have, they have these systems to where they check their email at the beginning of the day, after lunch, and at the end of the day before they go home. Create that if that's something that will work for you. But maybe you work in a profession where me just checking my emails 3 times a day isn't going to cut it. Maybe you need to check it more regularly. Maybe you check it as you switch tasks. Or maybe, I leave my email up because I have, multiple monitors on one screen so I can see what's happening over there. But that don't mean, and typically I can tell by who the email is from. Is it a priority? Is it important? Because not every email involves me and not every email is important. The number of emails that I deleted on Friday because I'm just on the email chain, but they were scheduling something that in no way, shape, or form involved me. So every time I saw that name pop up, I was able to just delete the email because I knew it didn't involve me. But that's not always the case. And so those need, and so as a result, that need to look to see, does this involve you or does this not, is causing you to sometimes, in some ways, leak time and lose track of your time, because now you're over here in this spiral of figuring out, does this involve me, does it not? Let me make sure, did I read that right? Okay. Because once you really examine where your time is going, that's when you're able to see that I don't actually know where my time is going. And so that's what the visibility problem really means. Visibility is about, can you see? Can you see where your time is going? Or is your time like this gas leak to where it's floating out in the air and you can't see the gas, but you can smell it, i.e. the burnout, the feelings of overwhelm, the feelings of I got nothing done today. And you're like, I didn't see this go away. But clearly it went away because now I have this smell or these feelings in the air and I'm trying to figure out what's got to give. What's got to give is the game plan that you create that helps you to get away from there. Because now that you're aware of it, awareness gives you the ability to control it. Because awareness means it's now visible. And now that you can see this and now that you can understand this, what are you going to do to change it? That's where the control part comes into play. You can't fix what you can't see. And if you can't see it, you can't fix it. And if you don't fix it, it's going to continue to be the same, or God forbid, even worse. And so what do we look to in order to fix it? Do you need to track your time for maybe a week so that you can really see where your time is going? Because in tracking, you're able to see, okay, maybe at the end of each day you create a, you had your to-do list plan, but here was the reality. This is what I planned to do. Here's what I actually did. Because sometimes we don't give ourselves the grace of understanding that we were actually more productive than we wanted to be. And I don't want to say that we wanted to be. We were actually more productive than we thought that we were, but it wasn't on the things that we specifically put on our to-do list. But maybe you crossed something out that was going to be a Thursday you problem, a next week you problem. And so in the end, it was something that helped move you forward. It just wasn't what you thought you were going to focus on for the day. That can be okay. The first step to not only being consistent, but to being able to be consistent in a way that is sustainable, that helps you to show up consistently, is to understand and identify the patterns. Is every Monday a complete crap show from what you planned on Friday for the week to be? Does every Friday just fall off the hinges and God only knows what happens? If you're able to start tracking and kind of see that, okay, these last 3 Mondays, maybe they were really productive or maybe they weren't. Is there a common denominator that I can see? Like, is there some sort of pattern that's happening here? Because if so, what can I do with it? Once we really start looking at where our time is going, understanding, getting clear, and being intentional about figuring it out, that's when we start making change. That's when that awareness leads to your ability to control it and to make progress, to make change, to do something different, to show up differently, to be better, to do better, to all of those things. But if you don't actually take time to pause to look at your calendar and even comparing that to your to-do list, you're not going to have a true picture of what your real day really looks like. Because if you keep looking at your calendar as this is what my day actually looks like, where on your calendar are you doing the things on your to-do list? And if you look at your to-do list as the real version of your day, where on your to-do list are the things that are on your calendar? Because oftentimes they're not the same. Now, I have a calendar sheet that shows me, and it's the one that I use for work, that shows me, like, I have a space where I can write down what's on my calendar for the day. And then I have the section of my to-do list where I write down my to-do list. And so as I'm choosing my top 3 tasks for the day, I'm looking at what's on my calendar. Like, am I going to be running here, there, and everywhere? Because maybe one of my top 3 tasks is to do the thing that's on the calendar. For example, Tuesday, I have to go to the jail. One of my top 3 tasks is going to the jail because it's also on my calendar. But I'm going to the jail not just for the thing that's on my calendar, because while I'm already there, I'm going to see a couple other people. Exactly, Laura. There's always patterns. Great. You've been changing and being productive. How have you been changing? How have you been being productive? And more importantly, how is that shoulder? Now, when we have to switch between what we planned and what's the reality, it's okay, because that's life. The reality is that it's life. And because of that, we have to really understand and be willing to pull away the things that aren't really serving us so that we're not breaking and continuing to show up. When you have an ache, when you have a pain, and I know Laura just recently had like shoulder surgery. When you have this ache or you have this pain, you have this thing that I thought maybe a little bit of rehab was gonna take care of it. I thought, resting it would take care of it, but it hasn't. So maybe you need to do a complete overhaul of your system. Maybe you need to do a complete overhaul of your calendar, of your schedule, of all of the things. On Saturday, April the 25th, I'm going to be hosting a masterclass called Master Your Time. And with this, maybe this is the complete overhaul that you need, or maybe it's going to help you to see the pieces that need to be tweaked. Whether it's a complete overhaul that you need or some slight adjustments, this masterclass is going to help you. It's going to help you to go through part of what we talked about today, but we're going to do it in, a little bit more depth. And so with that, you're going to be able to really look at the difference between your calendar and your to-do list. The things that are on your calendar and the things that aren't on your calendar but are still consistently showing up and creating those patterns like Laura was saying. And once you're able to identify that, we started this off by talking about the gaps between what you say you want to do and what you're actually doing. Identifying those gaps to be able to plug those gaps, to fill those gaps by making those adjustments, those tweaks, or that complete overhaul is exactly what it is that this masterclass is going to help you to do. And with that, in that, and through that, you'll be able to really see and get visible what is the problem. Where is the problem in my calendar, in my schedule, in my to-do list? Like, where is the gap that needs to be plugged? Because I want you to stop saying you have a time problem. The only time problem that you might have is a time management problem. It's not needing more time. It's not wanting more time. Because even if you had more time, you would plug it with something else, and you would still be in the same boat of wanting more time. So how about we start tracking, we start looking for the patterns, we start building a strategy around the reality of life. And that's important. If you stuck at home like Laura, but you're using that as a time to pause, to find peace, that's good. But we also know that on the flip side of that is that exactly, habits need to be made, because once you come out of this pause and you push play again, Are all those old habits going to creep back in? Or have you now created a schedule? Have you now created a pattern, a routine? Have you now created a system that allows you to show up and get done what needs to get done? So that you're not forced to pause to do this revamp, I guess you can say. Because what's tracked can get changed. And what you're consistent in is what you're going to keep repeating. So are you consistently doing things that move you forward? Are you consistently doing things that make you better? Because if not, you need to change. And I want you, and I invite you to change with this free masterclass. If you're interested, I'm gonna get the landing page and all that up today. I just finished recording all the videos and getting all the things together for it. But if you're interested in the Master Your Time masterclass, you can comment the word time and I will send you the link for it. Or if you're watching the replay, the link might be up by then. But I digress. Either way, we got to do something. Because if you don't change nothing, you're going to stay in the same spot that you're at. Time isn't a problem. You're not really even bad at time management. You're just operating blindly. You're not actually looking at or operating from something that's able to see what's actually going on. The I'm going to do this real quick is sucking your focus. The I'm going to do this real quick is taking all your time. Where is your time disappearing? Where is your time disappearing? We got to fix that. We got to get visible. We got to get clear. Because in understanding that and identifying that, we're able to do it. Thank you, Laura. Yes. She said I helped her with accountability. And if you're looking for that type of help, that type of support as well, I'm Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach, here to help you create systems that work for your life, for your career, or for your business, that work. Systems that work even when life gets busy, because in the busyness that is life, we often let that productivity stop. You get caught scrolling on your phone. You get caught and you get sucked into Netflix. You get sucked into these things that aren't actually moving the needle on where it is that you want to go. And then you look up and you're like, how is the weekend over? Where did my day go? Where did this time go? You don't actually have a time problem. You're just not clear on right now where your time is going. Right now you have this silent leak, like a gas leak, and you're kind of starting to get aware of it, but you're still trying to figure out and trying to pinpoint, where is this leak at? In the Master Your Time masterclass or working with me in one-on-one coaching, we will be able to identify that. I want you to tap in. I want you to get registered. I want you to get there. I want you to help make change. We're in a new month. We're almost halfway through the month of April already. We're in Q2. I know the year just started, but yet and still here we are. So until next week, same time, same place, we'll be back for another week of the Success Starter series. I want you guys to get registered for the Master Your Time Masterclass. If you know someone who needs to be there for the class, send them this live, send them my page, tell them to reach out, send me their info and I can reach out to them and ask them questions, whatever. Let's make some change. It's time to have an impact on your time, and it starts with the work that you're doing. So until next time, Coach Lee is out. Understand that you don't have a time problem. You just got a visibility problem. And today we dove in and we talked about it. We talked about your calendar. We talked about the leaks that are happening. And we talked about how that awareness can lead to you changing it. Put it to work. Set yourself up for success this week. And again, Coach Lee is